Welcome, everyone. My name is Jerry Petroff. I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Complex and for the Center for Sensory and Complex Disabilities. I apologize for the late start, but that is the culture of New Jersey. Seems like the culture of everything. The culture of deafblindness, culture of everything else. But we realized that this great new facility that we had, we used to live in the building next door, which was not desirable. And so when we moved here, we realized how great this facility is, and us to have conferences here. We also realized that you give up one thing when you have conferences on college campuses that are this is that long walk across the campus. So thank you. I also realized that the traffic in New Jersey getting here. And this is Central Jersey, by the way, for those of you who are from New York and from North Jersey. This really is. We have people from York, Pennsylvania, so they don't know that many of you think that this is South Jersey, but we are central part of the state. I want to welcome everyone here and just say just a few words about the center. The Deafblind Project for the state of New Jersey moved from the State Department to the School of Education here at TCNJ about 11 years ago. Since then, it kind of followed me when I was at the State Department as project director, and I moved here. But it was my dream to develop a technical assistance training and research center around individuals, both children, infants, and adults with sensory impairments and other complex disabilities. I keep on telling the staff at the center that when we take on new projects, if not us, who? Okay, because what we want to do is focus on those individuals that have the greatest need and the most specialized need. And I'm happy to say that we are almost 2 years a center now. A center doesn't mean that we have a building or anything else. As a matter of fact, we're crowded into a little place with cubicles. However, we're small but mighty. And now I can boast, if you go on our website, that we have about 6 projects plus an enterprise system where we provide technical assistance outside of even the Deafblind project. We have an SSP project, for those of you who don't know what that is. Come see one of the staff and they'll explain it to you. And we have a number of other things going on. So I'm very proud of this. The other good thing is that in the very past, okay, or in the past, I was intimately involved in the developing, the organizing, and the implementation of events like this. The only thing I do now is introduce Dr. Van Dijk today, and then I go teach a course downstairs. And so I am not the one to thank if you enjoyed today or that everything was the right way. It's Michelle Bagunin, David Rims, Nick Shade, all the other people that are the staff here who work very diligently to put these things together. I now just show up, and it's great. So, without further ado, I welcome you all to the College of New Jersey. We are so fortunate to be the last on the 2013 tour of Dr. Jan Van Dijk. We had dinner last night, and we decided the next time he does this, we're going to have either jackets or T-shirts made for the tour. For the tour, Dr. Jan Van Dijk has been a good friend of every state probably in the union, and those of us in the room, and I should mention that Dr. Van Dijk is not the only expert in deafblindness in the room. We have a myriad of people with hundreds of years experience collectively in deafblindness. So introduce yourself at breaks or anything else, because we have a number of people from New York, other places. But Dr. Van Dijk has been an international leader in the field of deafblindness, kids with multiple sensory impairments and multiple disabilities for longer than I have. How's that, yeah? And he, you know, people always thought that Jan was going to retire, but yet last night he told me he's going to retire when he dies. So I'm going to follow that suit as well. But he's engaged in new research and new things. So without further ado, I'm going to give you to him in very good hands while I go and nurture the minds of young freshmen downstairs, okay? All right, Jan.
So, good morning, ladies, and I'm very fortunate to have a few gentlemen around, so I feel not so lonely. Yes, I'm Jan van Dijk, and Dr. Petrov has requested me to talk not about assessment, I think, and not about, although do a little bit, he's gone now. Oh no, he's not here. A little bit about the limbic system, emotional brain, because that's part of my development. But he requested, can you summarize a communication? And some itsy bitsies are still around. Quite a bit were around, which I developed over in the Netherlands after our country, like yours, was hit by a rubella epidemic, I'm glad I can pronounce it now, epidemic after all those years, in the 60s. And that makes the blind education really develop and boost, and we all were thinking that we had 30,000 talent killers around, but we did. We got very, very complex, complex children and no adults. So with my group in a little town in the Netherlands with an enormous organization for the Catholic deaf, we developed our little things there with a wonderful team. I'm taking you through that, and so you people know where all the things comes from. Not all the things, but many. And what mistakes we made, and how we changed, and how we finally tried to become more and more evidence-based. And that is the level of sophistication we have reached, that we want not to say, there is a guru, or there is this, or there is Lily Nielsen, or whatsoever, there is Jan van Dijk, and they tell, okay, it's good that they tell, but also give evidence. Give evidence. We're spending the best years of our lives teaching these children. We want to do a good job. And gradually, this notion is entering our field. But before I end where I am now, in brain and stress studies, and of course, I'm retired as professor and do my job at the Institute, but I'm a consultant, still see a lot of children, and I have still supervising of students. And I hope, apart from the communication, I don't know how far I will get, depends of course so on your feedback, because I'm here for you. Pick my brain and I tell you what I have to say and what I think about things. But if we have time this morning, I know we're aware that we lost a half hour, then I will show you the evidence of this program I'm going to present to buffer the stress. Because where I go, as Dr. Petrov mentioned, this is the end of, to me, an endless trip of 2.5 weeks. Wherever I go, I think the main problem is in children, the stress. I see so many children who are so uptight. I see so many behaviors that I'm glad that I can tell you that we have a little bit of evidence in accumulating studies that we can buffer, that we can tune down these children. But that comes at the end, because we were thinking for a long time, naive as we are, if we improve communication, then we lower the stress. Then that is the key to the well-being. And I'm trained as well as a child psychiatrist, and I should know better, because I see and have seen a lot of typical children with full language, but a lot of mental problems. Okay? So I could think, not only when they improve the language, the quality of life improves. That's not the case. That's naive. There are other things I would like to discuss with you. Okay? Complete other things. There are not the words, there are not the pictures, there are not the signs which determine the quality of life. It's about other things. Okay? So I take you, Dr. Petrov didn't dare to say, but when I put this PowerPoint together, I used to say, 40 years of experience. You know, but the time goes on, and I can say now, 50 years of experience. Nobody is sitting in this room, share that with me. But in the meantime, I have seen over 5,000 different kids. So I know what I'm talking about. And I still see them until as recently as yesterday. So, what is effective? What is effective and has proven to be a good way of approaching this deafblind kids or multi-sensory impaired? I'm aware that sometimes I have to stop for people coming in, but you understand this. Road problems go on the way, and people cannot find the building, etc., etc. So let's try to go. Okay? Now, I'll take you back 50 years ago. In the 60s, of course, with this rubella thing. And I started as a classroom teacher with 3 rubella kids, having not a clue. But I had a very famous instructor for the deaf. He was a priest. I must acknowledge, he was a priest and psychologist, and he really helped me to become a good psychologist of deaf children. I go from the field of deaf. I tested them, take the intake, and I was 24 hours times 7 days a week. I was available. And I had no clue where to start. They came in, and they were full of stereotypes, and they were completely lost, and in that time there was a residential setting. And so we had a good series of teaching deaf children, but the advice I got from the field of the deaf were not very productive. So, in despair, with 2 assistants sitting there, what did I do? I did not have a lesson plan. I see myself, I went to a cupboard, and a stack of toys we got. So I started from the top shelf and put pegboards. Many pegboards. And when the pegboards were finished, the shelf underneath had the box with beads. Beads, beads, beads. Okay. Beads, you will laugh. Beads were finished, puzzle blocks. And in the afternoon, after snack time, building of towers. You know, with this type of Lego you put on towers. I still see myself doing these things. But what the language and the communication concerns, I could not get things going between me. Or they were following the beats, putting one beat in the mouth, feeling the string, and but then I said, do you want more? Then there was no response. So my supervisor, coming from the deaf, where there's a lot of spontaneous expressions of young deaf children, said, try to get in conversation with your child. I said, yeah, but the little man I was trying to teach is not interested in my conversation. He's interested in shining with the blocks or biting on my pictures. It's not going to work. And I was very overly concerned about his stereotype behavior. Because in order to release the stress, he was all the time flapping his head. Are you familiar with this, guys? Okay. Stop the flapping. Well, that's the same thing as say, stop breathing. You know, that, what I said. These things the children are doing are unproductive. Yeah, I know that, because they came not to school just to flap their hands or to wave their hands or bite on the fingers and so forth. So, you should stop flapping, otherwise you got not to communicate. So I stopped his hand, but then he started more rocking vigorously, or kick with one foot against another. And finally, this good man, he was not made for this job. He said, I don't think we get to that. He was used to nice, vanilla deaf kiddies. These guys are not educable. In that time, we had a distinction between educable and trainable. Okay, so there I was in my despair. And how I was, I did imitation. That was already a meaningful step, eh? My first student. Eh? Working with a tie. I kept talking to him. I still see him so now and then. Oh. we did there. Pay attention. Up. That's complicated. So, like most, they have cataracts removed, they could do from pictures. You see his problem with finding the parts of his body. Okay, that was my first student prize. So, I got my way. No supervising. My two assistants, we would call them now interveners, and we did the job. And I thought, I'm putting too much pressure on him already in that time. And when I was following his flapping, for instance, I still remember, then I had a stick and tied a ribbon with nice colors around it. I accepted this flapping. Gee, that gives him pleasure. No, stop that flapping, hold his hand. You are not going anywhere. You are not going anywhere. So gradually, I start to getting very vaguely the idea when I followed the child's spontaneous activities, so as hand flapping and rocking, I put him on a swing. He could rock. But that's more appropriate and still gives the same proprioceptive stimulation, but it is sitting on the swing. I could, following him, I could get in contact with him. Somebody is nothing. I like that. And then, what is still on, the stop and go activity. When I stop the swing, he would make a movement with his body to continue. Wow. There we have interaction. Following the lead of the child. It's so basic, but I'm not going to tell what I see in this country. Everywhere. It is the hardest thing to do for a teacher, following the lead of the child. Because they have that curriculum, and the child should do not this, and do not this. Okay. If you say the child should do this and this, because it's time for this and this, goodbye. You are getting in the same situation that I get, a stressed out kid without any results. Okay? It's hard for a teacher who wants to be in command. I tell you what you have to do because I'm your teacher. Then never go anywhere. Because when you approach education like that, you are in the wrong profession. That even includes university professors. I got, as you see, a little bit of success with the imitation. So it took me quite a few years, because I'm a slow learner. The children should be given the opportunity to indicate their preferred activities. And I had no clue why this was true. Until, let's say, 20, 15 years ago, when I discovered the brain. And now I understand that these children exhibit behaviors which their brain allows them to make. And sometimes their brain is so focused on a certain area of performance that it's very hard to go around. But if you follow the part of the brain, their spontaneous behavior shows that's working, then you have contact, you have interaction, and from there you can move further. So that is, until today, my leading message. Follow the child's interest, meaning what? Use that part of the brain which is capable of functioning. Okay? So therefore, the newest book we put out with my good friend Kathy from Utah is still called Child-Guided Approach. And people like the approach because you get to the goal you want to achieve. So I look not only in the deafblind children for this approach, but also with children with intellectual disabilities and with severe language problems. The child-centered approach, not teacher-centered, not curriculum-centered. So finally, after a couple of years, we sat when the school was finished, with the teachers and the aides around the table, and we devised the lesson plan for the next day. And said, okay, we had this day, and with one child, we're going outside, and we're going to the horse riding because the child likes to feel. And the other one, we go to a vibrating board, and with the other one, we go to our little garden with all sorts of smells. There was always activities going on following the interest and the need of the child. And I was the boss, so I could decide what I wanted to do. There I had no supervisor, I was the supervisor myself. I always was the boss because in deaf education they don't care about me until this very day. I hope I do not insult anyone. And if I do, I don't apologize. They only care about the science. Okay. But still we had our problems. Because following the lead of the child isn't easy. Following the child's interest isn't easy. So the only thing you find out, and in that way I think we differ from all places where I've gone in the world, is we accompany our work with research. Because I've been following flags of gurus. Do this. Use the Kepler movement things. And you organize the brain. Do the Domicado stuff. Do this. Use the behavioral method and get rid of all the stereotypes. Do this. Follow Nielsen, little room, and the child becomes more active. All very good. Show me the evidence. Come on. Come on. Do this, the child is CVI. Let's put this and this on the, you know. Okay, give me the evidence. I don't. So be very careful what you are doing. So following the lead of the child, is that really something fruitful? Can teachers really follow the lead of the child? Okay. Watch the next clip of one of our research programs. Let's look to an activity which makes my name a little bit, some people call me Jan Coactive Venda. It proves that doing things together with the child, and now I understand later on why, when you join in with the child, you get the best contact. You get the best interaction. Now, you see an old, I come to modern stuff, but see an old activity with a little girl we are following in the remaining part of this presentation. She's a little girl like Ferry. And another friend of mine, Marlene, published with me on this little girl in GVIP. She likes to rock because this rubella kid, she's still young, but for religious reasons, the parents did not want to vaccinate her, to vaccinate the mother, and so the mother contracted rubella. And so we have still a few of these children. And then you see how the teacher had her on the lap and joined in with her favorite activity. What do you want? See, and then she used the objects. She makes herself, you know, with the, not bracelet, but necklace. She showed, you are working, you're doing this nice activity with me. So, that has proven to be a very effective way and used a lot, that you have your personal object, and that when you put on that object, bracelet, earrings, etc., it means pleasurable activity. And you see here that it is pleasure. It is pleasure. And then later on in this presentation, we talk about limbic, where the DVDs are. Limbic is emotion, is pleasure. So, if you don't have pleasure together with the child, you miss out. Should be pleasure. And you see, she follows that very intensive rocking and sideways, and she stops, and there is interaction. When you have her on swing, you could do similar thing, but Femi's world is centered around moving. And you join in, that's why I call that co-active, together, and now I know why this leads to good results, because you trigger a system called mirror neurons. But in that time, this system was not discovered by scientists. But now I know why this really brings people together by joining in into its own activity. And the reason, my friends, that I stay in this field is that these things we found by intuition, by experience, that you are pleasurable and effectful. And when I start studying at the end of my career, the brain, the whole world. That is the reason why that is so successful. When I bond with a child through by using an object, as I saw 2 days ago here, a child refusing to eat, very difficult child. And then there was the intervener, and she just pulled on the bracelet of the intervener. And she, and I said to the intervener, move away your arm. And immediately she withdrew it. I said, did you never discover that that child bonded with the intervener and he gives her support? And I'm sorry to say, feeding specialists, you are not responsive. You are not following the lead. You are scaring this child off with your food. But when the child has reassurance, he was open for cooperation and positive approach. In that time, I have no idea how important it was that a person identifies herself with an object, with a smell, with a movement. But now I understand, because it gives stability, security, because you attach to each other. And until 3 days ago, I observed it, and I'm thinking back to all those things. Now, I have a name to it. I understand what very important things we did. And also, of course, what stupid things we did. But that's the way. Madam, you are shaking your wise head. What are you thinking?
You did it intuitively, but now there's neuroscience proof that you're doing the right thing. The mirror neurons, they just discovered in the 90s.
In the 90s,
70s and 60s.
Yeah. And that attachment became so fundamental. Still are people believing, psychologists, that that's not important. Well, I hope that they are safe in their own life. Okay? But what are you thinking? Trust that.
And if they
Trust.
can identify you, they know whether or not you're someone to trust.
I'm going to tell you. Shocking. It's said so easily. I have homework for you. On Bernadette worked with me living here in your country in Ohio and gives sometimes courses. See, a greeting with the earring, see that? See? Referring to the pleasurable activities, referring to our earrings. The greeting ceremony, in order to just not the object, but the object, the teacher is associated with a pleasurable experience. So she gets that model in her head. When that person is there with the earrings, something nice is going to happen. She's waiting for a response. See, interaction arises in this nice situation. You like that, don't you? Yeah. See? So they give sign hands. That is for the teacher's name. Together, we're going to move again. So there is some communication, interaction going on. Okay. That's how we did it, and we're still doing that, I hope. Because I don't hold that right. But there is a big but. With some people, with some teachers, it doesn't work. With some parents, it doesn't work. The child is not willing to become engaged. Why is that? Why doesn't bond between them? Here we have a little Turkish boy who came to us, really deafblind little man, and Joseph, and this is published by my son and myself in American Annals of the Deaf, 2006. You can all read it, or you can even download it because it's free from the internet. And he is interacting with Umut when he sits in the bucket in the shower. I ask you to observe that clip and then we'll have a discussion. Joseph is 20 years with us as a teacher. I hired him, I supervised him, everything. Okay? What are you thinking? You said no. Why do you say no? Well, that's good. What did you see? Can you give me, or do I have to play it again? Perhaps you can describe.
He did it to him, but not with him.
Who can give an example? To him, not with him.
It didn't give him a chance to figure out where the water was coming from. Didn't give him a chance to, it just sort of appeared and he kept moving it around and he never found the source of where that was coming from. So it didn't give him a chance to explore, to engage him in the process and let him.
Can you be more concrete? He wants to, yes, I like that.
I think the hand over hand assistance on the shower head, and then eventually, might take a couple showers, and eventually, I feel that he would have taken that shower head and showered himself.
So when he was trying to touch the shower head, the teacher moved away. Yeah? And when he did his hand like this, you know, he starts showering on his back. Okay? Now. Yes, please.
What I noticed in the beginning is the little boy seemed very stressed when the water all of a sudden hit him. And he didn't stop, as opposed to easing him into it, like letting him easily touch the water at first before it touched his body.
And then all of a sudden, when he was sitting there, he decided that he should have get his watch off. So he disappeared, because he disappeared completely for this little man out of, and then he showed up again without any announcement. Could that be you? Could that be me? Could that be you? I'm glad to say yes. Yeah. Yeah. It could be us. It could be us. Because Joseph was considered to be a good teacher. Devoted, took all his courses, but we failed to do these things. And when Joseph saw the tape back, what did he do? He resigned from the job. He said, for 20 years, I've not been productive at all. I did not contribute a thing to the development of my students. I said, yo, blah, 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 blah. No. Because he was right. Because when we analyzed the tape, the other thing you said, he wanted to put his hand in his water, the teacher to touch the shower head, he wants to have the water over his head, and then he moved away. We all felt that the teacher, when he was reaching out for the water, that he should respond to it by showering over his head. Joseph had a thing in his head that he would make it pleasurable, but that he would shower and turn off and touch his body where he thought would be interesting for food. Now. Somebody, yeah. Who is talking? This. Yeah. What is he saying? Nancy, hello. Okay. Dear Nancy, I'm talking to all this. May I touch your hand? Hello, Nancy. Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me? I'm talking to those guys. All my wisdom. Okay. May I continue now? Nice meeting you. Nice meeting you. Yeah, tap, 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 tap. You like that, eh? No, that's okay. No. Because that's the way to find out whether he's really nice. You understand that what she did? She's smiling, and then she scratched my hand. She said, you look to be a nice man, but are you really? Are you not pulling back? You understand that? So, I did not pull back. You did. You did. And I know what you're doing. See. Look at your examples right away. Okay. So, 16 hours were filmed, and we could detect 39 events. And the reliability that you can code the same independently from each other is difficult. To reach agreement, what I see, do you see, is not easy. It's not easy. And when people put, like I read recently, a similar study, reliability was established between three, I want to know how. Because that is so difficult to reach agreement. One of my colleagues, Marlene, for her dissertation, took 1 year training students to reach reliability. 1 year to get just that word, that one sentence. And this took a hell of a lot of time to reach agreement. Is he now touching, or is he moving or pulling away? Was it touching or just incidental movement? You understand? What do you think? And unless we discuss, we decide that this is really intentional movement and he's not making German movements, then that is the scholarly work you have to do day after day after day. Hours you spend reaching agreement, because then you know what you're talking about. So, very important is that, and after you've seen this clip from this research study, that when the teacher make initiatives by showering on Umut's body, he wanted that then Umut starts moving his hand in the direction of the water. But he didn't. So the teacher was all the time trying to get Umut to respond, but you see, they missed out completely on each other. The child missed 67% of all the initiative he took to get Umut engaged. But also, as you see, when Umut tried to touch, like she said, where does the water come from? The shower head, the teacher moved away too. So the teacher missed out on Umut as well. So it is like in this conversation, a man from the moon talking with a lady from Mars. And now it comes. 2% of the 16 hours were really interaction. I take the initiative, you respond, and I follow through. 2% was productive teaching out of these 16 hours. And that didn't decide, of course. We involved them in this study to say, I'm certified to go to middle school. I teach geography on middle school. I could not talk him in that we should, and he blamed me. He said, you, with all your knowledge, you think, you should have made me more aware that I was a big failure teaching these children. Yeah. You're thinking, huh? You're thinking about yourself, huh? Who's better than Joseph? Who's better than Joseph? Nobody dares to raise their hand. Unless you film yourself, invite your colleagues and say, this is our category. Who takes initiative? Who do I respond? Do I ignore? Do I respond in the wrong way? All this category we came up with in this study. Then you know. Then you know. When I had to supervise again, I would do that, including myself. Because sometimes things pass by so quickly, and you are involved in getting off your watch, having the water at the right temperature, turning the bucket, you know, when you go on, you know, then Umut at certain moments tries really to reach out and tell the teacher, and then all of a sudden, he decided to turn the bucket. You shake your head, you're right. But us. Any teacher here who does this kind of interaction, and we analyze it according to that, will go home and say, I want supervision in my life. I need supervision. And he blamed me for that. He said, you know about this technique before. Right? Very dramatic. True, are the facts. It are the facts that you can think you teach that on children, and you just, I see it all the time. I saw it yesterday in your school, I see it everywhere. I see it at my own school or wherever I go. Don't think you are different. You aren't. You aren't. Because it's so hard to be concentrated, understand the small movement, tiny bitty thing, and respond to it, catch it. In all your noisy classrooms, I could not teach for 5 minutes. I cannot teach for 5 minutes. I was working with the students, and people were observing me from the corridor. And one moved another, and I was gone. I missed the child. I felt that I lost the child. I was one last year somewhere. I said to the principal, I want to assess, but no. The school bus is leaving within 10 minutes. You know, Mr. Such and so, you know, I'm thrown off. I'm thrown off. I don't know about you. I give courses in assessment. And teachers who want to take the certificate, they are filled. And I have a dramatic thing in Canada, an assessment. So great. I cannot do this thing myself. And then only the assistant came in. And being her, you saw a break in her performance. She was gone. She did that assistant didn't interfere, didn't say anything. Only was there, but distracted of this very, very good assessment. Distraction. I don't, how can you work? How can you work? How can you work? You miss out. When the phone goes, that's it. And that's it. That sometimes we have so little results. And shall not improve. Because we cannot get real interaction going. Think on the ball, 2%. 2%. I don't think so dramatic in your place, but you don't know if you don't analyze. If you don't do research, you don't know. What's good communication? Look at this. Look. Hannah. My Hannah. Everybody knows Hannah in this country. In that time, she was 7 years. She's now 15. Wolfgang Sharon. I teach students. They were there. No. Why? Why did you divide a good clip? Make a pause and let the audience think about it. We have a pause now for 10 minutes. See, I plan everything. We'll discuss that. Why do you like that? Okay, coffee. People will come in. I'm sure they will. Okay. That was Hannah. You had to pause, but I hope that you were thinking about it. Why did you like it? There are several features which contribute to good communication. The child feels secure on the multiplier. quickly, prior to this, that the hearing was the most accessible channel of sensory input. Okay? So when I've done visual things, I would not be successful. But I asked the mother, does Hannah respond to her name? Oh yes. And when you are in the kitchen and you call her name, oh yes, she will respond when it is quiet. And I followed her. I followed her initiative. When she moved, I moved. And gradually it became very pleasurable, communicative situation. Hannah wants to contribute to the dialogue. And when she did, I responded appropriately. Responding is the most important feature of good communication. When you miss out, for all sorts of reasons, as you have seen with Joseph, when you miss out, your communication drops completely on the floor and you don't reach the thing. Now, another case of Fanny. We saw her with Bernadette having this somersault. I told you about rubella, and we'll see her during snack time. And I must say, in order to understand it, one of the cups on the table in the snack time has a fruit salad. A fruit salad. Okay, I just let it, this thing's quite for me. I want you to look at, does the intervener respond appropriately when Fanny signals something? What does she want to tell the intervener in this clip? And how does she do that? And it ends that she's very unhappy. Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm happy that all the things happen on my own place. Yeah. And then they come to me and they say, this child has challenging behaviors. Or she stirs away, she has controversial impairment. Who wants to open discussion? You, ma'am? Yeah.
The interviewer wasn't focused on what she was doing, so she wasn't responding to any of the nonverbal cues that she was giving her. And when she was pouring the juice, she started the process of doing it, then all of a sudden it disappeared and the cup appeared full. So she never got through the whole process of, where the juice was, where it went, where it disappeared to. And then the same thing happened. She started tapping to indicate that she wants something, and there wasn't any response because she was distracted by children that were outside the window and the other child that was in the opposite seat. So she was losing the opportunity to have sustained communication intact between the two of them.
But But what was really the clue that there was such a conflict? What did that intervener not pick up?
She was
She
communicating.
pushed the cup away, she banged her head on the table.
What do you think there's nice stuff in that cup?
I don't think she liked the stuff.
That's it.
Like the chocolate.
You saw when, see, these tapes are for training. Eh? The moment that the intervener got this blue card, the conflict started. And she did not got the idea that play meant I want to escape. That looking away, I have not seen that thread of that awful cup there. I look away. You don't get a message? Then, oh, bang. And then it goes out. Go on. Yeah, please.
Just say though, not knowing the circumstances and not that it was right, I don't agree with it. But maybe the child has an issue with not eating anything, and it's a lunchtime, and she has to be.
No.
I'm just saying, I don't know, in that situation, would you give her opportunity to try different foods? See if she would eat.
Yeah.
But I see
Because,
exactly what happened, I think it was very clear, but I'm just saying in terms of, the person that, the feeder's probably thinking the child needs to eat because she hasn't eaten all day. Like, we don't know, I don't know the circumstances.
no, I can tell you, there is a fruit salad, including orange, and we all know that rubella kids have a lack of production of saliva, so she knows when she has that orange in her mouth, it dries up and she cannot swallow it. So, someone said, fruit salad, here we go, it's very healthy, vitamin C, you should have it, and there you have the conflict. Okay? Now, how often do you think in this 4 minutes, see, that's how we train. We count. How many, because it's on your homework, how often did it miss out in 4 minutes? Guess. Number.
75.
They missed out 20 times. Some say 24, see, then you can debate that. So, when she said, play, she did not grasp that means go outside. She must have learned what's going on that the child wants to be aware. Why does she become so agitated? Why does she bang on the table? Why does she bang? All the things she would say. Look, here's the spoon. We continue. She did not pick up this. Okay? most of the time challenges the cause of challenging behaviors. Because the child wants to escape in order to avoid a very negative situation. This is from the program from Marlene and myself. In the training, because someone asked, how do you change this? They had, in the training, we take 6 people of this group, interveners, teachers, parents, whatever, around, and we use this type of tape, okay? And then the number of times that they miss out on each other are counted, and it's explained about that fruit salad and how gradually the behavior of family aggravates, become more desperate, and that you can see that the head banging is there when she is not being understood. 20 times we counted the tension and the frustration is building up in the child. Push away the cup, turns her head away, and finally she bangs her head on the table. Not being understood creates no. In the program called Contact, it has been shown that in this case, we should not look, and we hardly ever do, to the child. The hypothesis in the research, when we improve the sensitivity, the appropriate responsiveness of the teacher, what will happen to the behavior of the child? So you do, according to the rules, you take the baseline, and then you start. The intervention is discussing with the protocol 1 hour and a half per week. And they can choose between 2 colleagues, a supervisor, or me. First of all, they don't want me to sit in, because somewhere I dominate. Guess why? Often, sometimes they choose the supervisor, but most of the time, they discuss things themselves. Okay. We kept looking to the behavior of the child. And what did you see? That when the teacher's ability, the intervener's ability, increased through this, looking to their own behavior or to their colleagues' behavior, there was a strong correlation between improvement of the teacher's responsiveness and diminishing of the child's challenging behavior. Like a balance scale. One goes up and the other goes down. With 21 all is published. Don't make it. All is published. You can read it, GBIP, Technical Children, Fashion Journal, 6 or 7 articles are published. Interestingly was that often you did not need these 10 sessions of 1 hour and a half. That already, let's say, the ceiling effect was reached in 6 or 7 sessions. And most promising thing was that except one person in this training, all of them reached in this relatively short session very, very much being more effective in interacting with each other. So I don't give you not only the problem, I don't not only give you how to approach the problem, but also a training program which affects the children without having any intervention focused on the children. Okay, now, I mentioned already my colleague from Utah, Jackie. And about parents, we went both many times to Russia. And Russian education is very strongly person-directed. You tell, I tell as an educator, and you shut up. And so we used a program with training. Training to play. Training to play. Here's a rubella. There's still a lot of rubella there. See? There is the therapist. He asks for help. He provides him with help. And he wants the little dog to go in that door. We found that in order to teach parents interaction with their child, play is a very good medium, where you have to wait, to observe the child, take initiative, and so forth. That session, as I told you, and the interesting thing is that after these programs were stopped, the training was stopped, and we remeasured again after 6 months, the teacher's behavior regressed. Teacher's behavior, they become insensitive again. But the child's positive behavior remained. Meaning what? That in this work, like in your car, you need lubrication. You need continuously in substrate. Because all this teaching, when they were followed up, you saw that the responsiveness, they still try to follow again their own idea. So after 6 months, you have to retrain them again. Retrain, you never can stop retraining people. And when a new person comes in, he pulls down the whole group because she is not aware of these very subtle things. So when you have a group of 6 people working together, 2 are new, there is a regression of the whole group. We all find that. You know, that's why when you have a large group of people form, you know, let's say the school district or a classroom teachers who are not familiar with the very refined way of dealing with it, and who are not trained, they influence a newcomer to be the same as they do. So good, sensitive teachers in an unsensitive environment, they lose out. They lose out. So it's very important to train groups of people together. And don't let them interfere with too many people who have had no training whatsoever. If you don't have no training, you have no results, no success. You cannot do this work without continuing training. And this training on the job, not on the paper. Because we found it does not matter whether you have taken 5 courses, have 7 PhDs and a master's degree, that does not correlate with your being an effective teacher of the deafblind. What matters is your willingness to look at yourself. You're willing to accept other people's comment, positive or negative. We have in this 21, we have teachers of Joseph, 20 and more years of experience. It does not correlate, I have more experience, therefore I'm better. To be involved, to be included here, yes, you need at least 1 year, but there was no difference in being effective in this type of interaction, whether you are 4, 8, or 15 years with us. So we all have to learn, continuously to learn. The program is available on DVD with in English with a manual. Yeah. I come to another thing, and I put it in because we have new evidence about the calendar system. I don't think I can make it to my new studies on stress, and from Kathy as well. In an effective program to reduce stress, it has proven that there are a number of factors, 4 or 5, which determine the effect of reducing stress in children. Sorry. And one of the most successful ones is what we developed very, very, very early in our work, is the use of all sorts of what we call calendars, you call it schedule, memory boxes, they're all together. And Texas School for the Blind did a beautiful job to put all these things nicely on paper. And it is when you go to Google and you find deafblind calendars, you get more over than 100 hits. A lot of people use it, so you can say. Why are calendar boxes, yes, a calendar, so in all sorts of ways, so important? Because it is an aid, not a goal in itself, it is an aid to get into conversation with each other. Yeah? And that's all where we're talking about when we have communication. And a girl who lives still in the community where I live, Suzanne, and I know her right from birth, when she was born prematurely during a skiing trip of the parents in Austria. And there's underhand signing going on and the mirror together. No. That's the beginning of such a calendar, because that's. They had a Christmas party. There's a little bit of fiction there. I think she's blind by now. We go to school, and when that is finished, she points to the Christmas tree, makes the sign for Christmas tree. See that? We're having a Christmas party. See, there is the picture. But of course, you could have the needles of a Christmas tree when the child is completely blind. And then this girl with the ponytails goes with us. It's the mother. We walk. Then we go on the bike to the church. See, you see there the story you see here the story of what the mother is telling about the Christmas party, who is going there, and then they go to church. Okay? That is the event which is going on. Okay? So interest in that? So the conversation is underhand signing and using at the same time her voice to feel the vibrations. Okay? She's attentive. She is watching what will go on. And that's what I like. She is thinking and going back in her memory. Because you understand, when next year there is again a Christmas party, and they refer to this book, she will remember that this girl with the ponytails, she's not longer there because she went home by plane to Curaçao. Okay. When I did this recording, she was very worried. She was the parent just had moved to another community, and you see that she's nervous about horse riding, because the previous week horse riding had been cancelled because the instructor was ill. And then in our mind, and then you see how important from a therapeutic point of view these calendar books are. She goes over her mind, and then the mother picks it up. Aha, the anxiety you have is about, will the writing lesson take place? Yes or no? Otherwise, so often I heard, I don't know what's going on in my child's head. I wish I could. When you have a calendar system, you know. She is first, as you will see. So I can judge the quality of your education, whether you have a calendar system, yes or no. That's the way I judge my teachers. He goes back in her mind with the horse riding thing. She's really under stress, then you yawn and she's covering her eyes. What is he thinking about? See, there are the stirrups. She's grinding her teeth of anxiety. She's pointing to the bus. She's pointing to the stirrups. And then the mother grabs the idea. You see the anxiety. Watch the picture. She sits there. Okay. We let her sit. She's thinking about coming to grips with her, and then she's looking back. You see that? You see the value of such a book, and you can do it in many different ways. And on top, she feels the texture for the day. And we let her. We let her. Because when she lingers on a page, we know what's in our mind. She feels the day. She feels the day. She's in transition from print to pictures to braille. She's the scratching of her face of anxiety. Sit and thinks, will it take place? Anxiety. We know now why. See? There's the cross of the stirrups. It does not take. See, there's a very subtle dialogue between the mother and the child. Every minor sign, hand under hand, the mother picks up. She interprets it. Ah, you're anxious because you don't know when the horse riding takes place. The impact of such a calendar book is enormous. Because in a quiet moment, she takes the book and leads through the pages. In this way, she organizes her memory. Aha, that was Christmas. Then I go on, and right, there was the New Year. And then went in the holidays to the snow in Belgium. It's all there. It's all there because of last year. So in this way, by developing, and you can do it on cards, you can have tangible objects, but put it in a meaningful way, in conversation. And then you see how enormous therapeutic value it has when you're anxious. You sit there and you lead through, and she stops at the dentist, where there are pictures or objects associated with the dentist. So she feels dentist, and you observe it, and then you share the emotions, saying, I know the dentist. You have fear for dentist. I understand. The sharing of emotions. Well, that's not different. What does a therapist do? He doesn't tell you what to do, but he empathizes. He shares your emotions. And that relieves at least someone to recognize my anxiety for the dentist, or the horse riding, or the child who is always bullying around. Will that child be there, yes or no? So from a mental health point of view, such a diary is of an incredible importance. And the people from Texas have put this idea beautifully in print and given you norms, because you don't need a book. You can also have a box of the Christmas experience, of the New Year's experience. We see kids who have small boxes all around their bedroom. It's like people have their albums, their family albums, underneath the coffee table, right? And when other people come in, they leave through. And you get instruction, that's the way it started, as you can read in the foreword of the textbook book, how I got the idea, let us put experiences in something we can hold on. And that supports the memory, and also you can share the feelings. Yes, and then car broke it because they came back and they got on fire. Okay? That experience of the flat tire, a little bit of the smell of the rubber, you know, oh, and then, oh, it's there, and then a little left. So you go through the emotions again, and this can happen at all levels. At all levels. I always say you give the child a past. And when you have a past, you are also a future, because you can think about it. And as you've seen in this book, there are empty pages. But there are in Braille dots, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So the child knows that there are days ahead. And then Wednesday, swimming, horse riding, swimming. And you can have the water wings, you can have the chlorine of the swimming pool, or the rubber band around you, small pieces or a whole rubber band, you understand you're going to go back. Literally, you go back in the room and you open that back. And you feel this, but now it's open. It's an open space. So you take again that book there. And then the child will hopefully ask. Because the biggest problem is always the child sees the language, but it's the back. And through this system, you can ask, is that going to help? Swim? Horse riding. But swim. But don't swim. Yes. And then you will say, are we going on the bike? Or we take the car? We'll ask. Come, we'll ask the teachers. What can be done? Dijk. They do that in Russia so well. So well. They bring. There is no congenital deafblind child in your country who can read at fourth grade level. No. All are illiterate, functional illiterate. If you have one congenital deafblind who can read at fourth grade level, that's reading, please refer. I'm going to send that teacher and those parents at that school blocks. I can say that because there do not exist any. Only in Russia. And if you know, because we come to Russia, we come to Russia. They do like this. They're smart. They follow through. They follow through because the director tells them, you follow with that. And they have a bunch of children because they really work very creatively on the whole calendar system. And they build it up, not only for this child, the second grade observes, they went swimming. And they write down, we, second grade, persons, we swimming too, but we jump from the diving board. And they bring in a box, a little bit of the rubber of the diving. So the whole school, in 6 levels, even the adolescents, they come in the library where all the experiences at different levels are studied. They don't go home. So in the weekend, the caretakers work those out. So, and then the ones who become a little bit illiterate, the ones saying, we went to the fire department, make drawings, have a little tangible object to find. So the third grade is, am I fine? Well, we'll ask. So there is a conversation, intangibles, in writing, in braille, between the 6th and the 3rd grade. That is what we're reading. In reading, you are in conversation with the writer. Fantastic. We don't do that. Very fine, and that's why you don't have any results of reading. Not only for deafblind, but also not for the deaf. Because the reading method really has to start with personal experience.
Can you please speak
It
louder?
has to start with personal experience. Yes, madam.
Can you please speak louder?
Speak louder.
Can't hear you.
Oh, nobody has ever asked me that. But I will speak loud. Okay, so calendar books, they're becoming more and more schematized. Even when you use this tangible, let's say Christmas tree. You have a needle. You have the smell of that tree. And you can cut the needle, and with a little bit glue, you put it on the page. So I can show you reading books who are as small as the smallest print. Christmas tree, little bit of straw of the lemonade they got, a little bit of the little cherry of the cake. So it's not bulky. It is just a normal book. They can touch. And some of them who do not have letters, but they have the books. They can read stories with very minor tangibles. Fascinating. Reviewing the calendar book, can you still understand me? Now, better, huh? Over and over, cheer, became more. Calendar leads to conversation. A dialogue between two persons, and as I have explained from my Russian experience, with the whole school or with the group. Now, Shelby, Chart syndrome, cochlear implants, no effect. And reading is a highly difficult skill. And she has no speech, sign language a little bit. And now she discusses, as you will see in the next clip, the pregnancy and the visit of her former teacher. And they have a different type of conversation book. The baby is going to sleep in bed or not? Where is the baby now? Oh, in the belly. In the belly. And then she becomes excited, huh? See, and then they have and then you see immediately she becomes quiet. So the teacher draws and writes and signs the coming visit to the pregnant teacher. I observed her a lot bit and gave my advice, and we developed, let's say, the second line, you see the baby. Second picture, we schematize in a couple of weeks that 1, 2, 3, that are the fourth, fifth picture, the letter comes in from baby. See that? So there is the baby drawing, becoming more and more schematized. And then the 6 pictures, the full word, only there is a little thing left from the drawing, and finally the word baby. You see the same thing for mom. First, mom has long hair, obviously. Full face. The third picture in her face, there is already the M. Then the face outline disappears. And at the end, there is only mama's long hair, one part, and the one. Because breaking up for those kids, words and phonemes is a horrible thing to do. My advice is skip that process and go through this. Suzanne and Shelby developed rather well. They're interesting person. And like I said, it is very unlikely that even a girl like Shelby will ever reach the true level of reading. They understand text within their own realm of experience. That's fine. But the grammar understanding is incredibly difficult. And this is true for the majority of deafblind, as I just put out, and also for deaf. Literacy, I have not to say, is a big issue in this country. You have your national curriculum, the same in Canada and Russia. We don't. But there is a discrepancy between what you have to accomplish in the law and children really can do. And that's discrepancy I hear everywhere. Let's skip this. I was going to say a few things about stress. I will not put up a new PowerPoint. But there are 4 studies on stress and deafblind. And the most interesting one is done by a lady, part of her dissertation, and about the time that we had this rubella epidemics, we took 18 deafblind young children away from our overseas islands in the Caribbean because there was no educational system on the islands of our Dutch West Indies. And as you can understand, taking away from that environment, from very often a grandma or a neighbor looking after those guys, was a very, very stressful event. And they developed severe challenging behaviors, very, very difficult to manage. So one of these PhD students came to me and said, Van Dijk, you did a lot of stupid things, but one was that you took these children away. I said, yes. Can you tell me who exhibited the most stressful challenging behaviors? Oh yes, I can, because I worked 10, 15 years to get that behavior a little bit acceptable. And we had developed a group home in the north of the country, and one of my students was the leader of that group home. At this moment, it is possible to measure the stress by taking saliva of the cheek, okay? And our hypothesis was that through the very, very bad history, this adult people around 40, 45 years of age would still suffer under enormous stress, being cut away from their roots. And she took the 6 worst cases. This former student of mine had made the buffer against stress. And the buffer against stress is, that's why I bring it in, calendars, routines, sharing of emotions, proximity. Okay? And this lady, yes,
I didn't hear the last thing you said.
proximity, and the most difficult stressful events we know from blind studies is transition. Even small transitions from one room to another, from one teacher to another, causes already enormous stress. We found out. So, she measured all transitions for 3 weeks, 21 days, all transitions where the guys had to go to the workshop, pack their lunch, getting in the bus, and she kept measuring, taking saliva from the cheek. Now, my heart was beating. And what was shown? Didn't show up to ground. That stress peaks in the morning because there is a new day. What's going to happen? And then it shows that in those children, in those adults, they follow for the whole day the curve, the stress readings of typical Dutch 40-year-old adults. There was something to see that through the intervention of the 4 elements, including very much the scheduling, the conversation, still every one of these adults had their own book of their own experience they could discuss, as I had described. And in this conversation with the calendar books, they could share anxiety, like you see in Suzanne, okay? And they could share and say, yes, when I have to go to hospital and the doctor feels me, I'm anxious. Huh? I'm anxious too. You draw yourself, you tell about yourself, and when these old guys of 40 years want to hold your hand or sit close next to you, you say, yes, I know that That was beautifully used in that book. And see the result. Even with the worst experiences you can think of, what happens in a person's life. Through these 4 elements, which are also proven, used in 3 different experiments, measuring stress in deafblind people. That is the biggest recommendation I can give to you all. Give your child a past and a future. Help them to reduce the stress by having a conversational calendar book, discuss the events, and share the emotions. Okay? 5 minutes for questions, or you write down in your evaluation form. This guy likes to talk, but gives us little opportunity. So, too late a little bit, but who may I ask? I will go loudly. Who to raise a question? So, thank you, madam. You open the discussion.
Question, how would you deal with a child when communication itself is stressful activities?
How would I deal with a child? I would, when I have a very stressful child, I would lower the stress by getting into contact. And how do I do that? Yesterday, I talked about mirror neurons. I would mirror my emotions. And with my voice, and with my touch, I lower the stress in every child. Now you know how mirror neurons work. I mirror my quietness, my happiness, and I say, you are very excited. Even when the child doesn't hear, he feels it. He feels my vibration. No, you are going to be quiet. Yes, you can listen to me. You listen to me. I sing to you. Oh, well, shake my tail. Okay. Okay, I'll stop. I'll give the child command over his own emotional life. Yes, ma'am. I can do that. And you can do that. You can lower the stress by mirroring your quietness in a pleasant way to the person. Like you do when your friend or your husband is stressed. What you do, you put the arm around him and you talk gently and you sit. And you sit. Very important. Don't tell people, don't be stressed, that's foolish. Yes?
When you're talking about the calendar box,
Yes, calendar box.
would use of the iPad and social story and PECs be a substitution for the calendar books?
Yeah, it's a good question. I attended 2 years ago in Minnesota when I did this thing, and Kathy Lyon did with another group using of the iPad, and I saw there the picture and the tags, and I was interested, but I said, where is it? When it is gone, it is gone. It doesn't stay. You understand what I mean?
I do.
I want literally the child to go back to the old experience. And I don't know, I'm not a technical guy. I don't know whether that's possible, that you can have all these experiences stored in an iPad.
Yes,
That would be great.
yes.
But the thing is, you cannot touch. Can you? Are there iPads who give embossed pictures?
No.
And they're all prefab. I'm a good friend because American Printing House go to buy all my stuff. That's why I leave there, and you can have it before they raise for 100%, $40. And they said, can you give us the tangibles for your calendar box? I said, I give you 3 million, because that's, if you ask me that, you don't understand. Because it is individual. It is your experience with the child. So I think the iPad is useful, but for a blind child, or the ones who learn through touch, with my knowledge of technology, I cannot see, it can be a supplement, but it cannot replace, unless I know too little about it. Yes? You're constantly updating the with the student. Very, very, very good question. With the student, but don't make a messy thing. Be neat. And when the child is messing up, and because in 2 years from now, you don't like to read a messy book. I have experienced that, together with the child, but be careful. I like that it is, like in the mother's book you saw, very neat pictures, a book which cannot be ripped, which is kept as the biggest secret in the drawer. That's our secret book of our experience. We share together. Good question. Thank you. Yes?
Suppose you have a student that gets stressed kind of when it's more their free time and they can sit and think about things and it's like a slow trigger that stress them so it's not connected to something that's happening currently. How would you recommend stressing them? Because they're not in the middle of it.
They're continuously.
Like say you can't read their thoughts. Say they're traveling on a bus. You know what I'm saying? You can tell that it may not be anything that happened at different times during the day. It's not related to the time, what's happening.
What happens when you see that the child is clearly stressed in all ways and that there is no antecedent, that you don't know exactly what's going on? Then I say the biggest buffer is still sharing emotions. Even when you don't know that the child is apprehensive and nervous, etc. By acknowledging it through touch, through smiling, making the emotional world agreeable, but mainly finding a trustful person. Yes. Yes. Yes, please.
I have a logistical question with regard to your calendar system. Your experiences, how have you found out, like, what's the most effective way to organize the calendar system? There's so many different aspects, there's home, there's school, different days of the week, different kinds of vacation days, school days, different experiences. What's the easiest way to organize it so it's most accessible to the child and most organized?
Very good. I would go where there is supposed to be the biggest organization is in school. And the day revolves around 6 activities. You have coming into school, activities, snack time, lunch time, and then an activity going home. And I would discuss about this fixed thing. Once the parents see that you make, as we call it, the world more surveyable, that the child becomes less stressed and takes more initiative, when you are successful, involve the parents. Because you must be sure that the system works. And my experience is, when you get the parents 15 minutes a day, time for the child to do, to draw, to cut, to make even one page of experience, that's already enough. That's enough. Because you only learn and are motivated to do something when you are successful. And in your case, where the child's really stressed and you don't know why, try to introduce interactive play. I think play is the forgotten element in our work. Play with the child. Play in the group. The other day in Washington, I saw a very autistic-like kid, and they were only doing one-to-one. And I said, the world does not exist to one-to-one. No, he does not pay attention. And we were sitting the four, 2 interveners, myself and the mother and the little man were sitting there. And we had drawn dots on the paper. And everybody pointed to a dot. And he was watching. And he really looked around saying, by golly, there are more people on the world than only me and the intervener. I have to evaluate from the government of Ontario before the end of the year the effect of interveners. And I criticize because when intervener means one-to-one, you are walking a dead-end street. One-to-one in order to include other children and other people. Because otherwise they become very person-dependent on that person. I'm glad you agree. Everything's wonderful system, but I see, that's why I'm paid for that, I see also the shadow side. Of too long one-to-one, they know each other, you know, every minor thing, work as soon as possible in a social group. And that's a wonderful thing about your system. Sometimes you have typical children around, but these typical children, in order to get in contact, should be trained. You cannot throw in a typical child and say, play together. That's nonsense. In Italy, they do it. No. In Italy is the best inclusion because they train the children and they get little rewards to play and work to look for. Okay? That's the shadow side. I learned my lesson one-to-one. I got one teacher for one child because I can talk to the minister, etc. I never would have a plea again for that. It can be a very unhealthy bond. "50 years, folks. I do these things 50 years. Okay? Yes, madam.
Regarding the intervener.
Regarding the intervener, yes.
Can an intervener then have responsibility for more than just that one student in the day?
Good question. Can the intervener have more responsibility? Yes. Yes. I would like, that's one of my recommendations, I would like that particular person and the other person share the interest in another person. If you are interpreter for that particular person, it's okay that the second one participates in that. Is that not what we do? I talk to you and you listen and you come in. I don't think, unless I'm looking for empirical evidence, they send me a stack of paper. I hope that I find evidence that one-to-one is more effective than any other model. And as long as they don't give me the evidence, if I go through all my career, I'll be very honest to you, I made a mistake until I did research. Then I'm confident. I'm confident in saying that sharing of emotions, focus on the emotional brain, using of calendars is a buffer against stress, because I can pull up the evidence. As long, and I have seen the negative side of one-to-one, where that person changes, and suppose you have not a good match between an intervener. We have gone through that. Suppose that your whole life you have a nasty teacher next to you. It's true. I think it is in our nature as Dutch people, we are very critical. We see the good thing, but immediately you have, say, a buff. Makes life sometimes crazy, but it's good. The people may ask you that. I hope that in all my papers I got, there is some empirical evidence. When things become an ideal, an ideology, watch out. When your inclusive education becomes an ideology and not an educational issue, I take it as. Ideology is politics, and I'm not in politics. I'm in education, psychology, psychiatry. That's where I work. Yes?
Going back to the calendar books.
Yes, thank you.
So would you say, let's say you were saying that we should put something tangible or tactile onto the page to remind them of an experience. So would you say that if you use a certain texture to represent one thing, that you would then not use the same texture if it's confusing? For example, let's say on a mealtime page I would put a piece of a spoon and let's say a plastic spoon and a piece of a towel to represent the bib. Because it feels like a child's bib. Would you then not use a towel, let's say on a bath page, because it's like two different concepts and it's confusing?
Yeah, I would see, you have to choose the tangible according to the interest of the child in using the tangibles. You can say, I use the surface of the bib, but it might be quite possible that the child will be more interested in the rope of the bib, or in the time or whatsoever. And you can say from the towel, it might be that, yeah, the little thing on which you hook the towel has more interest than the whole thing. And I even would make then a towel very interesting for a child to explore. I could have different textures, smooth and rough, and smooth and rough, which stands out in comparison with other things. I agree with you, you know, the cognitive capacities of the guys we're talking to and who I saw yesterday are very, very limited, you know, and we must work through the extremes to signal to the brain that things are really different. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Don't you have a certain level of cognition or language processing to understand the book? If you take out a book like this to a child who doesn't understand there's a past, future, and present, and they get the book and they think this event is going to happen now, and you can't explain to them there's something that's going to happen without you did in the past, can't it increase stress?
You can. There are different ways. Of course it is not. And suppose it's nice weather, you go on a bike ride, a bicycle for two. You have the experience, and you see that the child is interested in spinning off the wheel. You spin the wheel of the bike, etc. And there, I would start then with a small miniature wheel where he can spin. Okay? And I put that in the box. You have experience with the real thing, biking, spinning with the wheel of the bike, etc. So then you must be creative and bring back in 2 days the experience. So you go back to that box, you spin again, and then watch the face, watch the face. Is there any bell ringing which brings back the pleasurable experience? Okay, you take that wheel, and very often we hang a string around the neck where the wheel is. You have the bike outside and you spin the wheel. Okay, you associate it again, go back. And you have to take data. How often that you see that child, when she feels that small object in the box, think the next pleasurable experience is going to happen. You need a level of intelligence about 1 year. Under that, I would do different. Okay? Yes.
Or as far as the schedule for a lower level child, like, you know, how you would say that a start box and a finish box.
Yeah.
You know, where we're not looking at a book of all the activities that are going to be happening that day. It's just about what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And as soon as that activity is finished, it goes to a separate box and
Yes.
finish.
We call that finish box.
Right.
And we'll find that, for instance, a bag, you know, a cotton bag, you hang out where you really can say, you put it in, and then you put, you know, sleeve over it, is finished. I'll see, like the teacher shows you, all creative things, how you can use it. That's not my idea. If you got the idea that opening that bag, getting us out, that's an activity in itself. And feeling it, and observe. So you have to endless to feed that memory. But the way people do it now, they take it for granted that the child goes through an experience and remembers it. No, you have always to support that memory. And when the child wants to see the shining of the little things in that wheel, you have a torch there and you shine it. So you make the box experience as close to the real experience. And don't forget odor. Don't forget odor. Okay? Yeah.
One last question.
I like questions.
The perfect scenario, do you ever encounter times when a child doesn't want to do something that they need to do? Let's say, going to school, they have to go to school, and,
Yeah.
what do you do?
When a child doesn't want to leave from one place to another, it's because of anxiety. As I said, in the research with blind people, we saw that changes, transition, caused the most stress, and you could hardly see it. But we could measure. Even that the laboratory guy said, what's happening in that place? Because it did not fit the computer, the graph in the computer. He has to cut it. And that was just going from the classroom to, I think you call that home economics, you know, making things, you know, that sort of activity. And the teacher could not believe, or they were rather, what happened. So, first of all, be aware that it is anxiety and stress. And then, remember my buffer announcing it? Anticipation. So, you have a finish sign, school finish. Bus, a bus. Now, you're sharing of feelings. We wait. You tap the bus. Good job. You get out. Tell them, bus. Or I have the object, bus. So they have to cope with their anxiety by making the transition as small as possible. And we see that particularly in this study from Paula, in completely blind children. And that makes sense, doesn't it, Dr. Rosanna? There's a big difference all the time for the one who have a little bit vision and in those groups who are completely blind. They had the most anxiety. Yeah, makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah.
Sorry, if there is any anxiety, if you're doing everything that you think about, for example, all the things that you're supposed to do, and if there is anxiety, does that mean that the change how we're doing it, or could it be that this is the best case scenario? Not only an example of the but other examples.
In other words, can we lower anxiety? Is that your question?
In other words, in the best case scenario, should there really never be much anxiety, or but there just sometimes is? In other words, it's part of life.
If we had not done this research, I would say it's the best case. Being deaf blind, it's almost impossible to live without anxiety. But when we've seen it in this intellectual disabled children with the world history you can think of, it still showed that the stereotypes were very important to control their anxiety. Okay? So stereotypes, they used them. They part of their lives. But it could be shown that it is possible that in the worst scenario, you can lower anxiety. I don't know how many years it took, but that's the big thing. Or, for instance, your veterans, I'm just coming over, reading about your veterans. And the anxiety, people from yesterday know that, is caused by a little almond organ called amygdala. And your veterans coming back from Afghanistan, they measured in a functional MRI situation the sensitivity of that little amygdala. Because when you heard a little bit like an exhaust pipe, they would shout. Okay? And after a year, it was measured again. And they could find a difference in anxiety and stress in the persons who came home in a quiet, structured environment, with wife, husband, etc., and the ones who came in an unstructured environment. Yeah? And then are the guys who go down the street, are homeless, jobless, and drink, and get drug addicted. So it shows, thank you for your question, it shows that even in the worst circumstances, seeing a colleague killed by these booby traps, that acquired, accepting environment can overrule the sensitivity of the amygdala. That's why we are treating 6 criminal deaf people in the mountains of Austria, where the average of 6 convicts, aggression towards people, etc., sexual assault, and we give them structure, therapy, but also a lot of positive, pleasurable experience. But the worst thing about the amygdala is that it reports far better negative things because they spread us than positive things. So in order to overcome anxiety, you need a lot of continuous positive input. Yeah.
Dr. Music?
Yes.
We're going to have to end. We're going to throw us out of this room in a little while.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Well, I hope I have entertained you.